That storm's going to put out the campfire.
I'm Tony.
I'm Peggy.
And we're two RV industry veterans who travel part-time.
In this small trailer.
Yeah, that's getting really wet right now.
And blown around a bit.
Yep. Looking to share big adventures and help you with great tips,
tricks,
and discounts.
If we end up in clothing different than we start with, it's because we had to turn everything off and run to the bathroom for shelter. We are under a storm warning. I don't know. We think it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
We're with a bunch of people that are local, so if we see them run, we're running.
Yeah, pretty much. If they are standing out on their porch taking video, that means that there's probably some pretty severe weather, but what do we know?
What do we know?
Right?
We do have our weather radio on. You might hear that squawk a little bit.
Yeah,
but we're going to try and get through this without any of those disasters happening.
Absolutely. So this week we wanted to just kind of share, it's starting to heat up. In fact, it's fairly warm in here, but in order to kind of make the audio not sound terrible, we turned off the air conditioner.
Another reason to hurry.
Yeah, right? Right? We'll be recording this in 4x speed. So you don't have to put it on 2x speed to replay it. But we have some tips for how to kind of maximize the coolness of your rig. Not like really good sunglasses or that sort of stuff. Right? But how to keep your rig cool as the summer heats up.
Yeah. And
it's an article that we will link in the show notes, which you could find at StressLessCamping.com /podcast/260. This is episode 260, which means we're pretty darn close
to our 5 years of having the podcast. Yeah,
right?
Podniversary.
Wow.
It's coming up in a few weeks. So
yeah,
we'll definitely be talking more about that when it comes.
Yeah. So anyway, check that article out. I think it's good tips and will help you. It'll help you to stay cool, man. Cool, man. You can also stay cool with help from our friends at ABC Upfitters.
There you go.
They have great lithium and solar solutions for just about anything. I found out they also just sell drop-in replacement lithium batteries.
Yeah.
They sell entire systems. They really work with you to tailor the systems based on what you need. And last week we actually were hanging out with them. We will probably be hanging out with them again this week because we're headed back to Indiana.
But for a very short time. So
true.
I don't know if we'll have time to do any of that. But
yeah, who knows?
We'll see.
But anyway, they're just really good people. They do a very good job of working with you to install the system that's right for you. And if you would like to learn more or just speak with them on the phone, 574-333-3225. Again, 574-333-3225. And they will be very happy to answer your questions honestly and openly and in plain English, but know that they use Mastervolt components and they're all Mastervolt systems, so there's no finger pointing going on. It's
everything talks to everything
the way it's
perfectly well. Yeah.
So and it just works. So there you go.
This week we wanted to talk about some trends. We got to spend some time looking at a lot of RVs last week, and new kind of next year's models, or I don't know, changeover models. And we got to see some things that seem to be becoming more and more popular in the RV world.
Yeah, it was interesting. So we were there on a project and there was just a whole warehouse full of 2024, but a lot of 2025 models, forthcoming models, and we kind of noticed some trends. So we thought, we all love to know what's coming down the pike.
What's going to get different.
So here we go with some of the things. The first thing that really struck me, interior design. I was very impressed with the interior design of a lot of these 2025 RVs. Very attractive upholsteries,
Yep.
colors.
Yeah.
They were not the generic well, there were some that were the generic RV brown, but for the most part, I mean,
Like really nice backsplash colors, interesting floor. You know, it's still linoleum, it's still wood grain, but you know, some like herringbone wood grain and herringbone subway tiles on the backsplash, and just a little bit more interesting. And it didn't feel as brown. I mean, there's still wooden cabinets, so there's still brown cabinets.
yeah, there
but
were some.
It didn't feel brown.
Yeah, it didn't feel like the generic 80s interior. I was quite taken aback. I thought some of these rigs, especially some of the nicer kind of upper end ones that we saw, were much nicer than our house. You know, in terms of decor.
Yeah.
I was just, you know, you didn't walk in and go, You walked in and it was like, wow, fancy lighting fixtures and fancy furniture and different colors and just, and one of the brands specifically said we hired a proper interior designer to redo our interiors. It really showed to me.
Good. Great.
So
fantastic.
That was the first thing.
You did see a lot more than I did, but even my impression just from the few that I walked into, I agree. They're just not as plain. Not so plain and boring.
Yeah, it's like you don't feel the need to immediately change things.
Yeah, like,
I mean,
I can't wait to pop some color in here, because some of them have pops of color already, which is nice.
Also saw a lot of white upholstery, which was a surprise.
Yeah, a surprise for a camping vehicle.
Yeah, because, you know, Fido's going to jump on the couch. But I think it was fairly easy. It was kind of
that easy
vinyl-y
clean stuff. Yeah.
Textured stuff that you can clean easily. So I'm sure they've got that figured out. We went to the Lippert furniture factory a couple of years ago now, and something that they said that they're now very cognizant of. You know, there's a lot of people whose furniture has, like, the upholstery is sort of peeling, for lack of a better description. And what Lippert found was that bug sprays and sunscreen really deteriorate.
They take a toll on that fabric, and so they do not only like tug tests and stuff, but they do, skin cream tests and test bug sprays and stuff to test how durable the different fabrics are.
Which I thought was pretty good. So I assume this white upholstery will be relatively easy to clean, and it sure looked good, and it brightened things up.
Right. So another thing that I really like this trend, and I think the whole industry is going this way, but 12-volt refrigerators. Instead of the typical gas and electric that we've all had for 40 years or whatever, it seems a lot more prevalent to see 12-volt refrigerators in rigs. That's what we have, and that our first one was a 2022, and they've been doing 12-volt in mini lights for that long. But it seems to be more and more refrigerators are 12-volt, which I really like.
Well, what surprised me most was that the really big premium fifth wheels and motorhomes that we saw had 12-volt fridges in them. And they had 20 cubic foot and 18 and 16 cubic foot, and they had all the fancy stuff you'd want in a fancy fridge, like ice makers and multiple drawers in the freezer and that sort of stuff.
And all in 12-volt.
All in 12-volt.
Some of those bigger rigs used to put residential refrigerators, which, but, you know, residential refrigerators aren't built to bounce up and down the highways. And so it always worried me. I would never have wanted an actual electric residential refrigerator. But now you can get a 12-volt refrigerator that's as huge and fancy as a residential. Even just the 12-volt versus, you know, the old refrigerator that we have has so much more space. You know, it doesn't need to take that space for the compressor and all that. And so even just the normal 12-volt, you know, RV size refrigerators just give you a lot more space. They feel like they work better to me. I just like them a lot.
Yeah, I would be surprised in a year or two if you even find propane fridges anymore. But also, if you also find residential fridges. And as somebody who worked in the warranty department of an RV company, of an RV dealership rather, I found that when there was a problem with residential fridges, a lot of residential fridge repair people just wouldn't touch them. They're like, nope, it's not really
We
supposed to
don't
be in
go
that.
in an RV, and RV repair people didn't know how to repair a
Yeah, so we
residential
would
refrigerator.
just oftentimes just have to swap them, which involved removing a slide box or a windshield or that. It's a big deal. So let's hope that they have their act together with these 12-volt fridges, because they are designed for the mobile environment. And now, like I say, even in places where I had seen residential fridges, there were 12-volt but big, really fancy ones. So
Yeah.
and regular ones in more mainstream RVs. You know,
I mean, yeah, I don't know if more appliance companies are getting on board, but like our TV in this rig was a 12-volt television, which was the first time we had a 12-volt television. So I don't know. Like, I don't pay that much attention to the televisions when I look in rigs, because that's not what I'm looking
well,
at.
that's the next subject is our TV. And that, if you don't know, we had a TV that came with this camper, which makes perfect sense. Well, the TV basically committed TV side.
TV side.
It split in half and fell on the ground, and we're like, we really don't watch it. We used it as a Bluetooth speaker.
Right, and we have Bluetooth speakers. So we didn't really need the TV as a speaker. We have a lovely shelf now that we use for charging our appliances.
And the weather radio.
Charging station and the weather radio. So we don't miss the television, but the fact is that 12-volt is, you don't have to be hooked up to power to watch a 12-volt refrigerator.
Right, so what we saw was now these 12-volt TVs that are smart TVs. And that was almost universally in every rig we saw, I think, was a 12-volt TV, and that was also a smart TV. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, smart TVs coming to a space near you. Another thing.
Now I have a question real quick about
12-volt.
12-volt refrigerator, 12-volt television. Everything can run off your battery now. Are they insisting on better batteries? Is there a trend toward lithium batteries? And I know typically the dealer's the one that puts the battery in. So if you don't specifically say, I'm going to pay for a lithium battery, you probably get, the most basic battery there is. But if you get a basic, old-fashioned, normal battery, then is that enough to run all these things?
Nope.
Yeah.
I would say now, the way the new RVs are, at least get one lithium battery. I mean, just to keep the fridge running for longer. And I mean, if you're plugged into, that lithium battery will be fine going from campground to your driveway, whatever. But yeah, at this point, there's no reason not to go lithium.
There's really no reason not to. The only, people will use the reason that it's more expensive, but a lithium battery is going to last way longer than a flooded battery, and it's not way more expensive, right? It's more expensive, but by the time you get to, I don't know, year 10, let's say you've had one lithium battery and you've had to have 4 flooded batteries, by then it has paid itself off and you were able to run all your 12-volt systems. So
another thing, I'm going to interrupt right quick, because something we completely forgot, which is really important, is big changes coming to RV stoves. And something I noticed is the RV oven is quickly disappearing. We've had issues with the small RV ovens in the past. Well, what we're seeing are convection microwaves taking the place of the RV oven. And we're also seeing fewer burners, like 2 burners instead of 3. So those are also changes. What do you think about that? So
you might notice we took a short break and I'm wet because I had to go outside.
All of a sudden it got pouring. Another thing we saw was really different bunkhouse floor plans.
Yeah.
And those bunkhouse floor plans had some really innovative use of desks.
Yeah. So in the one I saw was like a 4-bunk room, and the way it was set up was 2 bunks on one side, and on the other side was a desk.
Yeah.
that could be a bunk, I think.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then the top bunk folded up against the wall, so it was out of the way when you were using it as a desk. And then it became so it had 4 bed.
By the way, I have to tell on us. So we're looking all over. There's notifications coming to my phone, right? So we're looking all over for my phone. Well, duh, we're using it as the camera.
I was gonna make you think I went outside to stash the chairs, but no, I went outside looking for the camera that's
Man,
right
the
there.
camera is. We may not be the sharpest knife in the drawer.
We may have had a couple of long days, right?
We really have.
Anyway.
And we're out of
they've been
beer and
awesome.
having Chicago pizza tonight. What? That's another.
Oh,
That's
bummer.
just wrong. Anyway, yeah. So back to the topic at hand.
And didn't you say there was like a slide out room secret office?
Yeah. So there was one of these fifth wheels that it was really an unusual floor plan. I really liked it, but in the back corner was a room that had a desk and it had a door, so you could go sit in this little office, and use it as an office. But then the desk kind of flipped over and made a bunk, and then there was another drop down bunk on top of that, and you could even use the floor as a third bunk.
Wow.
So this was really a unique rig, and yeah, I like that one you saw with the corner bunks and that big. I mean, the desk was as big as the one I have at home.
Yeah, it was big.
And the bunks were over the pin box. This was the fifth wheel on that one. The bunks were over the pin box, so it was a big bunk room. Really, really neat. And we'll have links to the reviews, but they're not out yet, so we can't totally talk about all of these. But I can tease you.
Yeah. So will they be out? They won't be out probably by the time of this podcast?
No.
Okay.
No.
So when you're listening or watching this, just know that you're going to have to keep referring back until we have a chance to to make that release.
Yeah, but there'll be some, if you're watching this on video, I'll sneak you some video that I shot.
Okay, so there was that one rig that one of the guys came over and said, Peggy, I think Tony's fallen in love with the voice command system.
It was cool, but I'm not totally.
I gotta say, if that voice command system is as rude to me as the one at home,
the one in our watches and phones.
That lady in the HomePod doesn't like me.
She doesn't like anybody.
And if the one in the RVs is going to be that rude to me, I'm not interested.
Well,
I don't know who you are.
Yeah. This was, we saw an RV that had a voice command system, and it was the first one with this. And so you would go up to it and go, hey, Power Pro, turn on the lights. It would be funny if the lights went on. Or, hey, Power Pro, turn off the lights. Or, turn up the air conditioner, that kind of thing. So it's like the home assistant, but built in. And I have to tell you, I'm a little wary of built-in systems like that, because like the one that lives in our phones, it's going to get updated and updated and updated. And I don't know if this system will.
Is that Wi-Fi enabled or whatever?
Yeah, will there be OTA updates, or who knows? But anyway, it was still a novel thing. You go, But hey. First of all, it's kind of dark in here, so let's turn on some lights. Hey, Power Pro, I'm home.
Welcome back.
So you have a voice activated.
Yeah.
Hey, Shlomo, turn on the lights
or he said like good night and all the lights went off.
Or you can dim the lights.
Yeah.
So
he said bow chicka wow wow and the lights dimmed. Not really. No, I don't know. I wasn't there the whole time. I don't know what all he did.
Oh my.
But that's kind of an example of our next point, which is quality extremes.
Yeah.
Right? There's almost no middleman anymore. You either got a really fancy rig with voice command or you have a very basic rig.
And some of the, if you don't know, if you're not nutty like us and follow the RV industry, there is a real trend to what they call decontenting, which means less fancy stuff like that voice assistant, although that will still appear in higher end RVs. but also just taking some of the things out that were put on during the pandemic that are like value-added features. So the basic rigs are getting more basic, and that's not a bad thing, right? I mean, let's face it, there are people who will buy a rig and use it 2 or 3 weekends a year, or maybe put it in a seasonal site, or the more affordable side of things isn't necessarily a bad place to be.
Right.
But some of these were more affordable because they were just more like kind of
Less solid?
less solidly built, just real. So my advice is typically when you're shopping for any RV, start at the chassis and work your way up. And if you do some of the really affordable RVs, you might just keep on going. But that's
But if you're
my
going to
advice.
drive it once and leave it out of sight forever, and you don't care about bouncing down the highway for miles and 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 miles, then maybe that's not such a big deal. If you're one or two people, so you're not putting a lot of weight in there and you're not driving it around a lot, maybe that's not that important to you.
That's true, but
And maybe that's who
some
those
of
rigs
them,
are for.
yeah, some of the rigs we've seen recently just really have not been that well made. Not many of them. But
Yeah.
by the same token, a lot of people go, oh, don't buy a camper made after COVID. Well, some of these rigs we saw were really well made and had really good features and good quality. And a lot of the features that were on them, I would think would make a lot of sense. Oh, like that sink. That same RV that had the a little office space in the back had this sink thing, and it was it was a sink in the kitchen, but there's all these drop-in pieces. There's like a drain rack and a veggie strainer, and several drop-in pieces. And I thought, that's really useful. And we saw rigs where they had pull-out drawers with garbage cans.
There was one, yeah, it was a small rig, but it had a big drawer under the sink, and it like takes two hands to pull it out. It's so wide, and it had two trash cans, and then like one of those,
Like a
cleaning caddy,
Yeah.
the like two rectangle things with a handle in the middle, and it was like had its own little cubby in that drawer under the sink.
Yeah.
So, fine. I mean, I might have organized things differently because I don't necessarily need two full-on size trash cans. And so maybe I'd do something different with the space. But also, that's nice if you have a recycle bin right there built in. You don't have to find room for one somewhere else. So
Yep.
there's something for everyone.
That's true. Another thing, if you don't know, a lot of the people who design RVs don't actually use RVs.
Right.
And that was evident. There were two rigs we saw. One of them I could not get, like the bathroom door only opened like 35, 40 degrees. I couldn't get in the bathroom.
And that was when it was fully extended.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, granted I displaced a lot of water in the pool, but the rep was this skinny dude.
Yeah, the
and
representative
he's like
was
zipping in and out.
20-something, and he's like, there's nothing wrong with this door. And I'm like,
like,
yeah, for you.
Who buys your rigs? Because it isn't skinny people like you mostly.
Yeah.
It's people like us.
There's a lot of us out there.
Yeah, there are a lot. I look around the campgrounds and there's a lot more us's than that skinny dude. So
that same rig had a lot of closet and drawer space, but it was all behind the bed. So there's like not even a couple feet between the bed and, that drawer could come out only less than a couple feet. And the only way I could see to get to it for me was to like lay on my belly on the bed and reach to it. Like I couldn't walk around the bed to get to it, or I'd be in the way of the drawer opening.
yeah,
so,
if you're
like, okay, yes, I love a lot of storage, but I also love that storage to be accessible.
Yeah. And if you're shopping for an RV, as I say, look at the chassis first, but then close the slides and see what you can do with the slides closed, if that matters. If it's going to a seasonal site, who cares,
Then
right?
you never
But
need
if
it,
if you're traveling with it, then maybe close the slides and see, oh, I can't get to the bathroom, or oh, I can't stock the fridge, or things like that. So
yeah, because if you're on long trip, like we do very often, we have a grocery shopping day. So we drive for a couple hours, we stop and shop, we put everything in the refrigerator that's right by the door for us, which is very convenient. But if your refrigerator is all the way through and you have to have your slide out to get to your fridge and you're in a crowded parking lot, and if that matters, if you never go more than 100 miles from home and you never stop for groceries, then you probably don't care.
Hey, is your refrigerator running?
Probably. It always is.
Better catch it before it runs out the door.
Do you have Prince Albert in a can? Sorry, kids. You have no idea what we're talking about.
Pickled pigs? We are truly proving that we are 12.
Heavens.
Oh,
yeah.
my gosh.
All right. So, anyway.
Yeah. So, the bottom line is there's some cool stuff coming.
Yeah.
And those of you who are like, oh, brown, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of choices besides brown number 7.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
So that was kind of what we saw.
So, where is our destination this week?
So this week we wanted to talk about Van Buren State Park, which is in Michigan on Lake Michigan, very close to the town of South Haven. So we ended up staying an entire week at Van Buren State Park. We went for a mini light rally and we stayed for the Wi-Fi access.
Yeah, we got a good site with a great view of the sky.
We did have to change sites after the rally was over because it's a very crowded park, and so. But it turned out for the best because
popular.
We found a spot that was less tree-ish. And so our Wi-Fi was good and we were able to just really get some work done, really dig in and get some stuff done. And we also went into the town of South Haven a couple of times. We found a couple coffee joints.
We walked
out to the pier.
That ice cream place.
The ice cream. Oh, Sherman's Ice Cream.
Sherman's Ice Cream.
Yes.
Yeah, boy, that was some good ice cream.
Yeah.
And 3 Blondes Brewing.
3 Blondes Brewing. Yes,
that
we went to
good.
dinner there. That was really good. And so...
And just walking around South Haven. Yeah, it's a cute little
town. We did that like window shopping kind of thing where we just wandered around like all those stores with all that stuff that nobody needs, right? Like, oh, let's look in here. So it was a fun, we spent a couple of afternoons doing that and catching up on our work. And South Haven State Park is a campground, but then there's also a beach, like a day-use beach. And so if you ever go there and you want to walk out to the beach, here's what I'm going to recommend. There's kind of 3 parking lots. One's kind of higher, and then a second and third one. Go to the second parking lot and take the route to the beach that has a big, wide sidewalk.
Yeah, that's paved.
Or, if you feel like a little bit of a challenge, go to the third parking lot, walk behind the pavilion, and take the path that goes up over the sand dunes
That's
through
not
the
the
forest.
path of least resistance, but it was pretty.
It was not horrible to do.
No, not at all.
We didn't know any better, so it's not like we were like, oh, we should have stayed on the sidewalk, because we didn't know what we were, we didn't know where we were supposed to go. So it was a nice little walk. We walked over to watch the sunset, which unfortunately was a little bit cloudy.
Yeah, it was a little overcast.
But it was a nice evening, and we had a nice little hike over the sand dune, walked along the beach, found the easy way back to the campsite. But it was really nice, and it was all the time there were people coming and going to the beach. When I felt like it was too cold, people were going to the beach.
And going in it.
And going in the water.
And this was Lake Michigan?
Yeah, Lake Michigan. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it was a real pleasant place, and they have a group gathering place, and they have it's water and electric sites, but there's a dump station, and thought it was pretty neat. So
and it's quite popular. So if you're gonna go, start looking now for whenever it is you want to go. We do actually have a gadget. I was going to say to tell you about, really it's probably to remind you about, because I'm sure we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
We have talked about a lot of the Ryobi tools that we love, the stick vacuum, the air compressor.
So one of the things that we love is going out and meeting our fans.
Oh. These have come in very handy because it's been very, very humid the last, when we've been in Michigan and Illinois. And humidity and I just don't get along so well.
Gosh, no.
So, like, this actually has a clip. If my shirt could hold it, I'd clip that to my shirt and just blow it right in my face.
Yeah, so this is the Ryobi clamp fan, and it uses, it uses the same Ryobi battery as all the Ryobi stuff, most all of the Ryobi stuff. And we like it because of the clamp. You can clamp it to your awning. Do remember to take it off before you bring the awning in. Yeah. Don't ask me why I know that. It does, it just sits on the table. I don't know if you can see that well here, but it's a spinny head. You can, like,
whichever angle you need it from, and it's
my
got
hair.
two levels of fans, so you can put it on low or on high. Let's see if I can guess. That's high, and that's low. So it's not like it's blowing my hair all over the place like if I was outside right now, but it is nice for just giving yourself a little personal fan.
Yeah, they're neat. Like, you can clip them to a lawn chair or whatever.
Yeah.
They're small, and yeah, that's basically it. It's kind of a neat little summer gadget, and we really like them. And there you go. And we have a bunch of Ryobi stuff, as Peggy said, like the vacuum we use in the trailer, and lamps, like camp
lanterns,
lanterns,
yes, yeah.
And of course the drill. That's what started the addiction.
Sure.
Air compressor.
You have a little kind of a leaf blower.
I have like a little leaf blower. Oh gosh, there's more.
There's
saws
more.
and
We don't carry it all.
No, we couldn't.
But there's a lot of things at home as well. But also we have a lot of Ryobi that we carry with us. That we have 3 of those larger batteries, and then we have several kind of half-size batteries. And so we have plenty of battery all the time to keep all of our appliances running.
Yeah. So this week, our maintenance reminder is your slide rooms. And honestly, the more I spend time on social media, the more frustrated I am with some of the advice that I see, including we've been to Lippert Slide School.
That's right.
And there's a lot of information out there that's just wrong. And people will speak with great authority about their slide rooms, and it's like, yeah, no. So there is a YouTube
A Yoop tube for those of you in
the Upper
Michigan.
Peninsula. The Youper tube. There's a YouTube channel that Lippert has put out, and it's got just all kinds of great info. And Lippert makes probably the majority of the slide rooms out there. So if you have a slide room in your RV, I would look at that channel, which we have linked in the show notes, that just how to maintain it properly. And honestly, I hate telling you don't go to Facebook or social media for these things, but don't go to Facebook or social media.
Because there's so many wrong answers, and like Tony said, spoken with such authority.
Yeah.
And you're going to believe them, and you're going to do the wrong thing. Some are like, lube them every week, and some are like, never lube them.
Yeah.
So rather than us try to run through those,
because there's 4 or 5
it's
different.
better if you figure out what you have, figure out who made it, and go to their website and find out how they say you should maintain it.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago now, because last week we were at the Mini Light Rally, and we kind of were so excited about hearing stories, we forgot to ask any questions of the week or anything. So a couple weeks ago, our question of the week was, how do you deal with toll roads?
Yeah, do you have a pass that you use that you like to recommend or whatever?
And so a lot of people use Easy Pass. That was by far the most common answer. But someone did point out it's not nationwide. So if, I don't know. I will say right away, we don't have any kind of a pass.
No, but we are thinking of getting one. That's why.
Thinking of it, but our method so far is just avoidance, toll road avoidance.
Yeah, we just don't go on the toll roads.
And a lot of people said that. You can put in your GPS oftentimes that you want to take a route that avoids tolls. Sometimes that'll take you on the smaller roads, and so then you want to make sure that you're still RV safe, right? So avoiding tolls and RV safety kind of need to go hand in hand.
Sometimes it's way out of the way.
Yeah.
So
someone said they play Convoy. And if you don't know that song, the line is, so we crashed the gate doing 98, said we ain't going to pay no toll.
Oh, we're on big old
Hopefully nobody
convoy.
actually crashes through a toll
Oh,
gate.
yeah, you would probably
I
might
don't want to have,
elicit
yeah.
the interest of the gendarmes.
Yeah. There's a Pike Pass, which is in Oklahoma, Kansas, and North Texas. So if you just spend your time in those areas, then that might be a good pass for you. There's a Sun Pass. I don't know where that is. I'm thinking Arizona.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
making that up. A Pike Pass, I'm assuming is Colorado, but I'm making that up.
Right.
There's I-Pass in Illinois. There's the Uni Pass, which is for universities. No, I have no idea where.
It's the
It's the
iPass.
I-Pass. Oh my goodness.
And there's the R pass.
There's a Texas toll pass, and all these are not that I've investigated, but these are answers that people have given us, that they have all these different things. Julian actually said he avoids the states that have toll roads, like not just the road, but the whole state.
Legit.
So, and then there's an open roads toll pass, and Rick had mentioned it, and a couple people said, "Can you let us?" They were going to try it. I guess it's new, and so if you're looking for something new, you might investigate the open roads toll pass. Now Daniel did mention that he has. I want to say he has the Easy Pass, but they took the George Washington Bridge, and with the Easy Pass in an RV, and they have a Class A, right? It was $95 to cross that bridge.
That's just
in
nuts.
tolls.
I didn't want to buy the bridge.
Right?
I just wanted to drive on it.
Right? So we drove through Illinois the other day. I said, okay, we don't want to be late. We don't want to be, that you're supposed to pay it within 14 days. So I went on, and I didn't know if we already had an account. I tried to set up an account. I locked myself out because it said we already had one. I went through all this stuff. I finally got logged in to pay my $2.20, which would have charged, $15 if we were late, probably.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's our problem is we will incur these tolls.
Yeah.
But then we may not be home for a couple of months. Well, now it's not just late, but it's like
So those
late
states
and
that
stuff.
mail you and you can't really get online and find them, they mail you a toll bill. We don't get our mail all the time, and then we
Right.
have ended up paying late fees because it's sitting in the mail waiting for us when we get home. So
Yep.
anyway, thank you all for those answers.
Yeah,
We will
and
be
keep
investigating.
answering. If you're out there in the real world,
yeah,
let us know
those
what
questions
passes.
don't leave. They just might sink a little bit in the feed, but they're always going to be there. And this week, we have a question for you, and I can't find it in the no, there it is. This week's question of the week is, would you be interested in joining a StressLess Camping gathering? So we do have our quartzite gathering. We had a lot of people that came last year. We are doing it next year. We already know that, people will come to quartzite, but we were thinking maybe at a different time of year and maybe somewhere closer to what we call the center of the United States, which is our home, New Mexico, or, nearby, Colorado or something like that.
Yeah.
Probably not Kansas, because you know how Kansas doesn't like us. But maybe something at a different time of the year and maybe something closer to New Mexico. Would you be interested in that? Should we try to look into something like that for next year?
And it would potentially involve trains and beer.
Oh, potentially. It almost certainly would be somewhere where there would be trains and beer.
Right, trains and beer.
Yeah.
Well, you can answer that question and weigh in on the toll pass at our fun and friendly Stressless Campers Facebook group. And it really is, the people there really are both very knowledgeable and very friendly. And if they're not, we just
get rid of them. And by the way, thank you again to Kathy, who told me you get those notices faster than I do. And someone tried to put a fake T-shirt ad in the group, and she said, "You better get that out of there." And I got it out before anyone saw it.
I hate wearing
except
fake
her.
T-shirts.
Fake T-shirts are the drag. Anyway, you'll know a fake ad, by the way, everywhere on Facebook if it says, "I can't share this on my feed because no one will appreciate it." That's like what they all have on there. So anyhow, do you know that we have a once a week newsletter? Do you know that it is absolutely free. And do you know how easy it is to sign up?
No, how easy is it?
Super easy. Okay, bye. No, I'm just kidding. You just go to the bottom of any page on the website, or if it's your very first time on the website, welcome. And we
Yeah.
welcome you by putting a pop-up that says, hey, you want to be on the, on the newsletter?
Ooh, a
on
pop-up.
the weekly newsletter? It doesn't pop up every time, just, I guess, when you're in a new location, because sometimes even I get a pop-up if I'm in a new place and using a different Wi-Fi or something. So anyway, we try not to be too invasive, but we do send you once a week a newsletter, reminds you about the podcast, tells you about things that we've seen happening in the last week or so, and we changed it slightly. So if you notice a difference in format and you like it or dislike it, please let us know.
Yeah, don't be shy. You will find the notes for this episode 260, on the podcast page at StressLessCamping.com.
Also at StressLessCamping.com, you will find deals and discounts and all of that at our deals and discounts page, oddly enough.
Yeah, so that's another place if you're looking for a great deal on RV stuff. StressLessCamping.com. And of course, we are also in all the social places. And to find us,
social.
to find us, you can just visit StressLessCamping.com, and there's a link to all the places we like being social, which is probably where you are too.
Probably. If you don't want to miss a future episode of the Stressless Camping Podcast, which is, as always,
it's free.
You can use. He does it every time, and it still threw me off. You can subscribe on any podcast app, and we are saving you a seat around our virtual campfire.
Indeed. And did you know that a review will help others find the Stressless Camping Podcast? And the more people we have listening, the better our deals and discounts are going to be. So that's what's in it for you, and it just means the world to us. So thank you.
Thank you for the reviews. Also, thank you so much for the shares. We've had more and more people catching on to that trend of sharing our posts, and we really appreciate that. You know, it only takes you a second, but if your friends see it and say, hey, that sounds like something interesting that person shared, then they'll come and they'll tell their two friends, and they'll tell their two friends, and so on and so on.
Wow. That is a...
Sorry, children, you don't know that one either. Children being anyone under 40 doesn't know what we're talking about.
Oh, Peggy had a birthday this past week.
I sure did.
Anyway, if you heard something you like, as we, share it with a friend. If you see a question on social media, we probably have an answer on our website, so you can share that. And all of that really, all those little drops in the bucket are like a rainstorm.
That's right.
Of listeners. So that's all good stuff. So with that, thank you for being here with us this week. Hopefully you are looking forward to seeing some 2025 RVs coming down the road.
Hopefully you're having great weather.
Yeah, great weather too. We appreciate you. We thank you for being here once again this week. And
Stressless Camping. Okay, turn the air on.
Yeah, do.